have you here. How are you?
It's great to be here.
Oh, God. Oh, you got your Duffy. I got Gelatoni. And I know her. She's right here.
Her name is?
StellaLou.
Very good.
All right. Before anything, before going any further into your subject, could you tell us a little bit about your career and your background? We want to know everything about you. Okay.
Well, first of all, I want to say that it's so great to be here at Disney Fandaze and to meet all of you. Thank you for coming. It's wonderful to be here in Disneyland Paris. So my name is Daniel Ju, and I'm the Portfolio Creative Executive for Tokyo Disney Resort at Walt Disney Imagineering. I actually began 30 years ago at the Disney stores, where we designed all of the displays for the upcoming Disney stores. And then after about a year and a half of doing that, designing and building the stores, I moved to Walt Disney Imagineering and got on some wonderful projects as a show set designer. Here is Tower of Terror, which was the first project that I worked on that actually got built. This one was for Florida. And then I started to work on Indiana Jones, which is at Disneyland in Anaheim, as a show set designer as well. My next project was a GM test track for Epcot in Florida. And this one is special for me because it was the first project that I was able to take from the early conception, laying out the track and laying out the attraction. And I took it all the way to the field and lived in Florida for about a year as we completed that project. My first project to work for Tokyo was Pooh's Honey Hunt. This one opened in 2000 in Japan, and it holds a special place in my heart because not only was it the first time that I was able to work in Japan and work with our Japanese partners, but it was the time that I met my wife in Japan, and so I have very fond memories of working on Pooh's Honey Hunt.
Very honey sweet.
I had my own honey hunt during that time. And then when I came back home, I started to work on Expedition Everest, which is an attraction in Disney's Animal Kingdom. Again, laid out the track, designed the mountain with Joe Rohde, and went to Florida to complete it. This was a very exhausting attraction for me because I had to climb that mountain almost every day to work on the mountain. And then I had the wonderful opportunity to go back to Japan and live there for 4 years as the leader of the Imagineering office in Japan. This was quite an honor to work with the Japanese and work with a wonderful team in Japan. I lived there for 4 years and then was asked to return to California and oversee the entire portfolio, which was a huge surprise for me. As many of you know, that portfolio includes Tokyo Disneyland, which was opened in 1983, and it includes Tokyo Disney Sea, which opened in 2001. So this is my favorite resort on the planet. It's a beautiful resort, and I hope all of you get the chance to visit because I'm sure that you will be amazed. What I do as a portfolio leader is I master plan and develop the vision for the parks. We work on hotels and attractions, merchandise shops, restaurants. One of our most recent attractions to open is Sea Rider, Nemo and Friends Sea Rider, which Charlie worked with me on, and opened last year, where you get to shrink down to the size of a clownfish and swim with Nemo and his friends. Most recently, we just opened an enhancement of It's a Small World. This was a fantastic attraction that we've made even more beautiful, adding the Disney characters to it. And so this is the first time that we now have Anna and Elsa and Rapunzel and Merida in It's a Small World, as well as Moana. For the future, next year we are opening Soaring at Tokyo Disney Sea, and this will be a completely new storyline that will make it appropriate for where it currently will sit, which is Mediterranean Harbor in Tokyo Disney Sea. That opens in 2019. And in 2020 will be the largest expansion of Tokyo Disneyland ever since it opened. This is the expansion that will include parts of Tomorrowland, Fantasyland, and Toontown, and will include a fantastic Beauty and the Beast attraction where you get to dance and with the beautiful music from Beauty and the Beast as you follow Belle as he comes into the castle and learns how to love a beast. As well, we have a Baymax ride, which is a lot of fun, and a greeting facility for Minnie.
Oh, not you, that's you. Oh, tell us more about those pictures.
So I was born in San Francisco, California, with mouse ears on. My parents were huge Disney fans. They grew up in the 1950s. They watched the Mickey Mouse Club. They honeymooned at Disneyland. So it was very important in my household growing up. And I decided at a young age that I wanted to be an animator and sit at a desk just like this and roll paper. So I went to Cal Arts in Valencia, California, and studied character animation there. And my first year I was there, I met someone from Imagineering, and they said, how would you like to animate audio animatronic figures? So for the next, I was hired, I trained to animate animatronic figures, and I animated shows like Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln, but I was originally hired to work on Tokyo Disney Sea for the Sinbad attraction. And subsequently I helped design Shandu for Sinbad in that attraction, and I worked on all kinds of fun attractions over the years. And one of my favorites is Mystic Manor, which I designed all the characters for that show. Albert the Monkey, the Lord Mystic. I also helped develop the story on it. We won the Themed Entertainment Award for Best Attraction of the Year. So there's a great photo up there of our core team, and just a fun, wacky photo of me messing with the baby fly traps in Albert, because that's always fun to do. And about the same time I was working on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I was the animation creative director. I came up with all the gags and staging for the mine scene in Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. And that was really fun and challenging. We worked closely with Walt Disney Animation Studios to make the characters look like they popped right off the screen from the 1930s and brought them into the dimensional world.
They look amazing. It's brilliant. Hello. The last but not least, you.
Okay, so I started out, actually my life really didn't have involved any Disney whatsoever. Very different from Ethan's life. Probably the very first real engagement with Disney was my job with Disney on Ice in Japan. So this was like 1986, and so that's when I started, about 32 years ago. And I worked on a number of, actually all the Disney on Ice shows in Japan. And so we want to make sure that the show is understood by the Japanese guests. And so that's why it's me actually on sneakers, standing on ice, teaching the skaters how to perform. And so, and then after that, I also worked on like Disney Live, Wizard of Oz, Thomas the Tank Engine, Thomas and Friends, a lot of stage shows in Japan. And actually, In the same time, actually, I was working on my PhD, and I got it, and I actually started teaching college full-time in Japan. So I taught in college for 13 years, and I was teaching what they call sociolinguistics, which is about how humans communicate with each other, especially when there are differences between the speakers, like the older generation, younger generation, male, female, sort of things, which really helps me as a writer to observe and then express how people communicate with each other in a dialogue. And with Imagineering, I've worked on a number of shows, like Turtle Talk, Stitch Encounter, Magic Lamp Theater, because I was one of the project members for the opening of Tokyo Disney Sea, and back in, I started about 1997, and so that was the experience. And then for other shows include for Jungle Cruise, Sea Rider that Daniel was talking about, Storm Rider, which was one of the first attractions that opened with Tokyo Disney Sea in 2001. Wow.
Great. Okay. And now here we are. Duffy, how did it start?
Well, Duffy, actually, there was a doll called the Disney Bear, and was developed in Florida for Walt Disney World. And around 2003, the Tokyo was interested in bringing the Disney Bear to Japan. But at that time, the WDI, we felt that Duffy, or that bear, needed a story and needed a name, and felt that that would be very important to the Japanese, our Japanese guests. And so we had found out that Duffy would only be sold, was intended to be only sold in this little shop called Aunt Peg's, which is a shop in Cape Cod, part of American Waterfront in Tokyo Disney Sea. And that's the only place it would be sold. So we decided to create a story for why Duffy was in Cape Cod. And that story is that Mickey as he travels through the different ports of call at Tokyo Disney Sea, sometimes he gets lonely. And Minnie felt that he should have a companion that would be his traveling buddy. And so Minnie created Duffy and sewed them together and gave Duffy to, or gave this little bear to Mickey as a gift. And she put him in a duffel bag, and that is why his name is Duffy, because of the duffel bag. Well, one night, Mickey was sleeping, and he started to dream that of all his great adventures that he was having with his companion, Duffy. And so Duffy and he would go on these great adventures to the different ports of call at Tokyo Disney Sea, and eventually became best of friends. So that's really the story of Duffy and how that began. When Duffy first was brought to Tokyo Disney Sea, our guests, it was very sort of slow in getting any recognition. I mean, he was just being sold in this little shop, but eventually, over a few years, his popularity just really started to grow and grow and grow. And our guests started to bring their Duffies to the park, and they would dress him up. And dress him up in boy clothes and in girl clothes. They would give him different names, like this Duffy is John, and this Duffy is Jill. And we were like, what an interesting occurrence that our fans are coming up with their own stories and experiences with Duffy. But we thought, hey, we think Duffy needs a friend. And so that's how we started to work on a new friend for Duffy, and a little girl. Duffy is about 4 or 5 years old, and so this little friend would be someone that he could play around with and go on his own little adventures around Cape Cod, Originally, we thought that we came up with the name of Daphne. Duffy and Daphne. We thought that sounded pretty good. But then we needed to really start to think about the story.
So we felt that as writers, we always put ourselves in the shoes of character. And for example, in this case, in Duffy, like what would Duffy want? And Duffy would want a friend, but in the story, Mickey and Minnie find out that Duffy actually wants a friend. So they make a friend for Duffy, and then Duffy is introduced to this new friend, who actually at that point still doesn't have a name. But Duffy gives her his really favorite shell, which this girl wears around her neck, and because she wears a shell, and therefore the name comes, ShellyMay.
So there we are. And so now ShellyMay and Duffy, they can play together. They can, of course, there's a whole new assortment that we can offer our guests in Japan, and they are best of friends. And so all of a sudden we had an opportunity where we could create more stories for ShellyMay and Duffy because they can beat it. Can you imagine this picture with just Duffy at the table? How lonely would that be? But with ShellyMay, it looks like, wow, he's having a really fun time with his best friend. And with the popularity of both Duffy and ShellyMay really exploding at this time in Japan, Hong Kong Disneyland and Shanghai Disneyland have introduced them, and they are now worldwide celebrities.
Oh yes, they are. Well, now I want to know how were the three of you involved in the Duffy and Friends project?
Well, with the popularity of Duffy and Friends really becoming huge in Japan, we really started to think about where should this go? Where can we take this? And I put together a team, and that team included as lead character artist Ethan, and as lead show writer Charlie, and here are some members of the team as well. And we started to think of a whole bunch of different animals, and thought, hey, maybe should it just be another bear? Could this be a whole bear family? Or should we try to expand it and make it a little bit more diverse with a bunch of animals? And how many characters should there be? And so we developed this idea of creating Duffy and Friends, that we would create a series of friends for Duffy that could go on different adventures and have different stories with our characters, with the characters. And there were a couple rules that we made. One was that each friend needed to have a very strong personality trait. And because Duffy, he's a great kid, but he's very neutral. He's very happy, very neutral. And we thought that to make interesting stories, we kind of wanted other characters that had more specific personalities. The other rule that we had was that we wanted to make sure that the friends had a very specific home, a place to live. And so we kind of looked around Tokyo Disney Sea and said, hey, maybe American Waterfront, maybe Med Harbor. Those are two great places that maybe we could develop a story around. And so we developed Duffy and Friends and came up with a couple new ones.
A couple new ones, and here they are. So I'm pretty sure we all want to know, where does it come from? What's the story?
So I had just come back from finishing up Mystic Manor. I was 3 days off the plane, jet lagged, and Daniel called me. He's like, hey, can you participate in the brainstorm? So I came to the meeting with my iPad and my little stylus, and we started sketching, coming up with ideas. And one of the first things I drew was this cat, who was going to be from Mediterranean Harbor, and he was going to be a pirate cat. And
Which is cute.
but he was gonna have a little tattoo on his chest, and we just thought, we like the cat, but maybe he's a little too rough around the edges to hang out with Duffy. We don't want Duffy to, join a pirate team or something. So my son who was 5 years old at the time, or 4. He had just started taking art classes. And when I was at Cal Arts, I had this great story teacher who always told me, tell a true story. Don't just come up with something. So, I knew a 4-year-old, my son, and he was an artist and he loved painting and drawing. So he's kind of based on my son Noah. So we just kept drawing different images of him. What would he look like next to Duffy? At one point he was going to be an orange cat. This other sketch over here with the purple paintbrush, that's where we started playing with, could he use his tail? Could he, maybe form it into a heart? Could he use it as an appendage? So we just kept playing different shapes, different colors. We didn't want it to look like we just put cat ears on Duffy. We wanted them to look like an original character. So we played with blues. This sketch over here was a bit taller. We kept with the beret because we wanted guests to, instantly recognize, oh, this is an artist. And all artists wear berets.
Of course.
Right? I mean, when I was at Cal
Go to
Arts-
Montmartre, you'll see that.
Yeah. When I was at Cal Arts, we all wore berets. So then we were looking for an inciting incident in our story, and we had another character that we were developing, and I had drawn that character holding bubblegum ice cream because I loved bubblegum ice cream when I was a little kid, when I was 5 years old. And what could we do with ice cream? And
So, gelato was one of the main themes of this story, and so as probably some of you know, Duffy was taking a walk actually with Mickey, and he was really enjoying his gelato. And as you can see, actually this is a tricolor ice cream or gelato, and he accidentally drops it. And as you can see, Duffy looks pretty sad. And Duffy usually looks, it's kind of, as Daniel said, neutral. But in this one, it was really important that he looks a little sad. And then, but when he's sad, a savior appears. And that's a cat artist, Gelatoni. He goes like, don't worry, just watch me. And he uses his tail and then gets some of the gelato and starts drawing. And that's how we got the name Gelatoni. And I think one of the most important things about these stories is that Duffy learns something very important from his friends. And his friends also learn something very important from Duffy. I think because Duffy has such an impact on us all, I think it's very important that we can learn something important from Duffy and his friends' interactions and reactions. And so another thing that's really important about Gelatoni is that he's able to see beyond his eyes. He can see beauty, and he sees the world with his heart. And that's something that, of course, Duffy learns from him, but we, the people, the persons, can also learn from Gelatoni.
so this was our rough hang tag. So we did it like a storyboard. Figured out Charlie and the rest of the team. We all figured out what the main storyboards beats were going to be, and it was very important to us that, as Charlie said, Duffy showed an expression that he had never shown before, which was sadness. Every time we'd seen him before, he was always happy. So him dropping that gelato made us empathize with him, which is, I think, really important and makes us feel closer to Duffy. Then we did rough turnaround drawings of Gelatoni. When we were first developing him, we thought, oh, it would be cute if his mouth was open and if it was off to the side, because he's a little sly. He's a cat. We played with that. We played with different colors. He was going to have a patch, a different color patch on his eye. He was going to have paint on the tail. And this is the final hang tag after we finished painting it.
Yeah.
So Gelatoni, being the creative cat that he is able to take up that ice cream with his tail and make something beautiful out of it. So take something that was potentially a disaster and make something very positive out of it.
Oh.
And this was our first friend.
Yeah.
Right? So it was amazing to actually hold a character that you helped develop, right? It was very, very powerful for us. And he has since been extremely popular in Japan. And with that, we thought, okay, let's keep going.
Oh.
So we developed, we worked on bringing the character to life, our friend,
Of course.
right? And that's my son Noah in the front there with Gelatoni. That's his favorite of the characters. And my wife had stitched little shirts of Gelatoni on the kids, so they got to meet Gelatoni first. They're very lucky.
Yeah, they were the first one to meet them. Okay. How lucky
And
they
so
are.
that was the trio, but our brainstorm had many other ideas, and we decided that there was another idea that came from that brainstorm that we had to just continue to develop.
There's the bunny.
Yeah, so this was the beginnings of StellaLou. So we were thinking, oh, we could have a cute little bunny rabbit. And this one is very similar to Duffy in size and shape, but we're playing with different colors, like could it be blue, could it have fun buck teeth, things like that. But then we started talking about story. So this next sketch is very different.
Hey, he's ready for magic.
Yeah, so this was, we called this one Broadway Bunny, because we knew in American Waterfront there was the Broadway Theater. So this is our song and dance man bunny with, you know, jazz hands and everything, and gave him top hat and tails. But we're like, okay, let's make this a girl. And so these are some very rough sketches I did. Again, I was trying to play with different shapes. You know, what could she look like? Then we went into color.
And you can see that she's starting to become not Broadway Bunny, but a dancer.
As a she.
And a she, exactly. So here are the top 10 that we actually did some color on, some rough color. From there, we narrowed it down to the top 3. And the top 3, you'll start seeing StellaLou coming into focus. So that first sketch, we really liked the personality of that one. And then the last 2, if you combine them, that's really how we ended up with her. So that was the first sketch of StellaLou. But at the time, she was not named StellaLou. She was named Ruby, and she had a little ruby necklace around her, on her neck.
Yeah.
And this is our rough turnaround. Then we added color. At one point, she had teal eyes, and we just kept playing with it. And then we did our final turnaround, which is what we know and love as StellaLou.
And here comes the story.
Right, here comes the story. So as Daniel said, it's really important that Duffy's friends have a specific place to live. So we were thinking of American Waterfront and in New York, Broadway Theater. And so that's why she wants to become a dancer and a Broadway dancer. And so she works really hard, and so one day she was practicing. And she was, and then Duffy happens to walk by, and then he sees her practicing hard, but she keeps falling. And so again, Duffy is worried, you know, is she okay? Is she okay? But she says like, I'm fine, and actually I want to become a dancer. And she said, that's my dream. And Duffy, she's like, dream is something that you have while you sleep, right? And she goes, no. Wanting to become something someday or somebody someday is also a dream. And so he learns the meaning of dream, and he learns the importance of working hard, you know, towards your goal. And then Duffy says to StellaLou, you know, you are already a star to me. And StellaLou says, I feel like I'm one step closer to my dream. And so Duffy teaches, oh, actually, StellaLou, of course, teaches Duffy about the importance of working hard and all that, but StellaLou also learns from Duffy's innocence and genuine support. And so that's the story. And the name StellaLou comes from this Duffy's word, star. And stellar is actually star, and so that's why StellaLou.
Right, so this was early on when she was still Ruby, but then we felt that it really needed to be StellaLou instead, and highlight that idea, that story point of Duffy already believing that she is a star.
The final.
The final.
Yeah, so these are the final hang tag illustrations that we did.
Wow. Here we are.
Oh, and then I just want to share a little video with you of what it was like when StellaLou was introduced to the world for the very first time.
Okay, let's watch this.
Something that stays beside you. Ooh.
ダッフィーの新しいお友達ステラ・ルーです
Happiness like a flower in full bloom.
なんと今日は皆さんにステラ・ルーを連れてまいりました
As long as you think of
So here's the gang, 4 wonderful characters. They're very popular. Can you tell us about this popularity of all those friends?
Well, in Japan, our main super fan for Duffy are what they call office ladies. And so it's not children, these are actually women from upper teens to about 40 years old. And
You guys.
but as many of you probably know, it actually transcends that with almost every demographic. We have senior citizens who love Duffy and Friends. We have kids who love Duffy and Friends. You will see men, boys carrying Duffy around Tokyo Disney Sea. And so it really is quite special to every Japanese guest. And it's not just a friend, but it's a lifestyle. They treat Duffy like a member of their family. They will rent strollers for their Duffy. And what they're really doing here is they're experiencing the parks with their Duffy, just like Mickey had Duffy as a traveling companion going around Tokyo Disney Sea. So they are really living Mickey's dream as well. Eating with Duffy, watching parades with Duffy, and we have these special photo spots where they can sit Duffy down and you can take a picture of your Duffy in front of great views of Tokyo Disney Sea.
So, as you can see, the fans are very much interested in becoming or making Duffy and his friends part of their lives. And so, as you can see, people dress up in similar colors as their friends, so they actually take the life of Duffy or their friends outside the park and in their everyday lives.
And our restaurants, about half of the high chairs in the restaurants are reserved for Duffy and Friends. So the guests, they want to eat with Duffy and Friends, and they'll order food for their friends. And all of these amazing, amazing costumes here, all of these are custom made by our guests. So they really, they love to make their own stories with Duffy and Friends. And that's really the wonderful thing about it, is that our guests have created so much content around Duffy and Friends that they have really made him their own.
And I think we got some example in the room. Hello, guys. They're wonderful.
Yes, they're
wonderful.
beautifully, you know, I mean, they're just so meticulously made. And you can see here that they will bring several Duffy and Friends to the parks. What they're really interested in doing is really sharing their love for Duffy and Friends with all the other guests in the park and experiencing the parks with Duffy, just like Mickey does. So with that incredible popularity in Japan, we have since, he is now, his popularity has grown also in Hong Kong and in Shanghai and in Aulani. And so really the main attention of Duffy and Friends and the main fan base is really around Asia as well as Aulani.
So we actually welcomed Duffy and ShellyMay a couple of years ago here at Disneyland Paris. But my question is, why do you think this character resonates so well around the world, especially in Japan?
Actually, we didn't know first. So we kind of sort of have to analyze, why are they so popular in Japan? So there's one Japanese word / concept called Iyashi. And this is a concept which didn't really used to be what it means now. It used to mean just to heal from physical or psychological illnesses. But then after 2000, people started to use this word to express the idea or desire to be cared for, comforted, protected, loved. You know, because I think a lot of Japanese people are very busy every day and they're under a lot of stress and they needed this feeling of Iyashi. And Duffy happened to have all the qualities that the Iyashi would provide. And I think, you know, this is just our sort of a, you know, external analysis of, you know, what may be happening. So,
So to really, I mean, it's hard for us to actually describe what Iyashi is. So there's some videos here that I think when you watch these commercials, you will really get a good sense of what that word really means.
Oh, happiness like phasing out the moon.
this is thanks for being born.
Oh, happiness like
Let's be friends
flowers in
forever.
bloom.
Please live long. And I hope, wish you good luck in your new workplace.
As long as you think of me.
一緒だといいことありそう。ダッフィー。
Something good might happen when you're with me.
Oh, happiness like a flower in the pool.
あなたの毎日がちょっといい日になりますように。
So I hope your every day is going to be just a little bit better than yesterday.
As long as you think of
一
me.
緒だといいことありそう。
Something good will happen when you're
ダッ
with
フ
me.
ィー。
Oh, happiness like phasing out the moon. Oh, happiness
あな
like
たの毎日が
food.
ちょっといい日になりますように。
I hope your every day will become a little bit better than yesterday.
As long as you think of me.
一緒だといいことありそう。ダッフィー&フレンズ。
So something good might happen, right? When you have Duffy and friends, something good might happen. I mean, what a wonderful, positive statement that is, especially in a world where there's a lot of chaos, a lot of questioning about where we are today. But Duffy can make you feel better about it.
That's probably one of the biggest pleasures that we have in being involved or being part of this group or team. And because I feel like we are able to provide something that's lacking in so many of us, which is this feeling of like the need to be cared for, protected, and soothed and loved. And I think that's one of the most wonderful things about Duffy and Friends. And so,
What is that? Okay.
what is that? Probably you're talking about the one in the lower left corner. This is actually, those are rice balls
Oh,
in the
yeah.
lunchbox that Japanese parents make for their kids oftentimes. And so that the love of Duffy and ShellyMay will travel with their kids to school and they can actually enjoy it. And eating that will also is a sign or the representation of their parents' love. And so there's always love when there's Duffy and friends. Again, the feeling of Iyashi I talked about comes from creating wonderful, beautiful costumes. And this one's like kimono, Japanese kimono, the fans made. Or you can also go out and take a walk with Duffy. And if you pay attention to which direction Duffy and Gelatoni is facing, they're facing behind them. And because you want your Duffy and friends to enjoy the sights as well. So that's why they are very conscious of what the Duffy and friends are experiencing. So it's not a selfish way of owning a doll. I mean, it's not a selfish way because you really want your friend to enjoy life with you, and so I think it's very special about Duffy and Friends.
Right, so whenever you go to Tokyo Disney Sea and see all the guests carrying their Duffys, they always carry Duffy facing out. Typically, at least in America, we hold our dolls facing us, so we can always look at our doll.
Yeah.
But in Japan, at least for Duffy, they have them facing out because Duffy can experience the parks with them and enjoy it just as much.
And I think in Europe we would borrow some Iyashi. We need some Iyashi. Am I right? Yeah. Well, what's your next plan for all this game for Duffy? Is there a future?
Yes, there is a future. We're always coming up with great stories and new stories for Duffy and Friends, and we're trying to expand the world. We're trying to look at how we can tell those stories. Here's a couple clips of some recent ones that we worked with our Japanese friends in Tokyo to develop. So of course that was a winter program that we had in Tokyo. This next one is happening right now in Tokyo. And of course, we are looking at expanding Duffy and Friends. and a new friend will be coming soon.
Oh,
Will first be coming to Hong Kong Disneyland.
all right. You won't reveal it tonight. No, we're gonna keep it secret. Well, thank you, guys. We have a couple minutes with you. Does anybody have a question? Yes, yes, you do. Okay, I'm coming. But you know what? When I see all of you all dressed up and everything, I feel so normal. Wait a minute. I need my stuff too. Yeah. All right. Hello. Hi. Oh, okay. Going this way. What's your question?
Do you have any plans to reintroduce Duffy and Friends to the Europe and US market?
Good question.
Good question. Well, we are always wanting to expand Duffy and Friends, and we, Duffy travels with Mickey and his friends around the world, and maybe someday he'll come to Paris again.
Cool. Exciting.
I feel that wherever there is a need for love,
Oh yeah.
they all show up.
Another question? Someone? Oh, hello.
日本語でもいいですか？
いいです。
どうぞ。
またああいったステップ2社員とかなんかそのダフィーのショーとかイベントはなんか日本やパリで行う予定とかありますか？
So the question was whether shows like Step to Shine or stage shows are going to be played in Tokyo as well as, for example, in Paris.
Well, currently there is a stage show in Cape Cod Cook-Off called My Friend Duffy, and that show changes every now and then, and we update it on a frequent basis. The Step to Shine show was for the introduction of StellaLou to Tokyo, and so Japan, they love Duffy and Friends, and so we are always looking at opportunities to bring them in for entertainment or for greeting opportunities, and so I'm sure you'll be excited to see future entertainment shows with them.
And we are excited to tell a variety of stories, because these characters can tell such wonderful messages. And this, a live show particularly is a wonderful way to convey the message of love and Iyashi. And so for that purpose, I think we all believe in world peace, right?
Of course we do. We do.
We do.
Yeah.
World peace. Right? So for that, I think those shows are extremely wonderful and I think productive for us. So we'd like to keep doing that.
Well, and we're all very excited to see it. Can't wait to see it. Thank you, guys. Thank you for being here. It was such an honor to have you. Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. I did, actually. Il est temps maintenant pour vous de retourner sur les Walt Disney Studios. La soirée n'est pas terminée. Il y a beaucoup d'événements qui vous attendent. It's time for you to go back to the Walt Disney Studios. The exit door will be on the side.